In December 2022, Messi lifted the World Cup in Lusail, and Messi, 38 years old, almost 39, is expected to be back for what is almost certainly his last shot at doing it again. But honestly, the more uncomfortable question is this: what happens if it goes wrong? Here's something I keep coming back to. In December 2022, Messi lifted the World Cup in Lusail. The whole planet felt it, not just Argentina fans, everyone. People who'd never watched a full 90 minutes in their lives. One of those moments where football stops being football for a second and becomes something harder to explain. And then it was over. Qatar was done. Now it's 2026. A new World Cup, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 48 teams, potentially 8 matches to win the whole thing. And Messi, 38 years old, almost 39, is expected to be back for what is almost certainly his last shot at doing it again. So yes, the obvious question is whether Argentina can defend. But honestly, the more uncomfortable question is this: what happens if it goes wrong? Not just tactically. Think about it from Argentina's side. If this tournament ends early, a bad night in the round of 16, a penalty miss, whatever, they lose the title and Messi finishes on a defeat. The team that built its identity around him, that leaned on him through 3 previous World Cups before finally winning, has to figure out what comes next without that chapter ever getting a proper resolution. That's a complicated thing to process, and I think it matters for how this squad approaches every match, because the pressure isn't just about defending the trophy, it's about ending things the right way. Let me go through the squad properly, because the Messi conversation makes more sense when you understand what's around him. Emiliano Martínez. The theatrics are well documented. The debut pose, the penalty antics. But underneath all that is a goalkeeper who changes penalty shootouts. Against the Netherlands in 2022, he read Van Dijk, read Berghuis, was moving before the ball was struck. That's not luck. That's a goalkeeper who does his homework and then trusts it. His value to this team goes beyond saves. He makes opposition penalty takers second-guess themselves. That's genuinely useful. Lisandro Martinez. When fit, and I need to be specific about this, he gives Argentina a completely different defensive identity. He steps out aggressively to press rather than sitting and reacting. He plays through pressure from the back without panicking. Against a team like France, who build with purpose and move the ball quickly, that ability to press high from center back keeps Argentina's shape compact in the right moments. Without him, they default to something more reactive. Otamendi covers the ground, but the proactive element disappears. The difference is real. The fitness question, given how his Manchester United season went, is worth monitoring closely. Alexis Mac Allister. This is the player I'd be watching most. At Liverpool, he's become that midfielder who just makes everything work, receives under pressure, finds the right pass quickly, repositions before the next phase. What he removes from the midfield is hesitation. Against a high press, that's the difference between surviving and losing the ball in a dangerous area. He's not a headline player. He's the kind of midfielder you notice most when he's not there. Rodrigo de Paul. Still here, still vital. He doesn't always look pretty. He covers distances that most midfielders don't. After the Saudi Arabia loss in 2022, when the whole squad could have folded, de Paul was everywhere. Not always perfectly, but he was present, which mattered. That kind of player doesn't become irrelevant at a tournament. He becomes necessary. Enzo Fernandez. I'll be honest, his Chelsea time has been inconsistent enough that I'm genuinely uncertain about him going into this. But here's the thing, I think some of that inconsistency comes from Chelsea using him in positions where he's asked to do too many different things at once. The way Scaloni could realistically set this up is with Enzo as the deeper of the 2 central midfielders, sitting just in front of the back 4, recycling possession, covering ground, protecting the defensive line. That frees Mac Allister to press higher and connect more directly with the forwards. In that role, Enzo's range of passing becomes an asset rather than a reason to take risks he doesn't need to take. Whether Scaloni commits to that structure is the real question, but I think that's the setup where Enzo actually makes sense. Lautaro Martinez, consistently excellent for Inter, and still underrated internationally. Not flashy, just productive in every way that matters. Headers, weak foot, physical duels, set-piece goals where the defender goes in hard and he still gets there first. Complete striker. Doesn't get talked about enough relative to what he actually produces. Julián Álvarez. His Atletico Madrid move has been good for his development. At City, Pep's system and Haaland's presence did a lot of the work for him. The space was already there. At Atletico, he's had to create his own moments. His hold-up play has improved. His decision-making in tight areas has improved. He's a more complete player now than he was in Qatar. Now Messi. The version that showed up in Qatar was different, more patient, less interested in forcing things. He'd go quiet, wait, and then do something that changed everything. The Mexico goal, one touch from 35 yards, low and precise, no panic. That's a player in complete control of what he's doing. The Croatia semifinal, timing his run from deep perfectly. The penalty in the final, no run-up, just walked up and put it away. He looked like someone who had made a decision and was simply carrying it out. That version is what Argentina need again. Here's where I'm genuinely uncertain though. Sustaining that over 8 matches, at 38, playing in MLS, is a different kind of ask. And I think it's worth being specific about why MLS is relevant here. It's not just about quality. The pressing intensity in the Champions League knockout rounds, or a Premier League top 6 game, is categorically different from what Messi faces week to week at Inter Miami. The speed of midfield transitions, the compactness between lines, the physical contact in tight areas. Elite European football operates at a tempo that MLS doesn't consistently replicate. That's not an insult to the league, it's just a real difference. And going from that environment into a World Cup knockout game against France or England is an adjustment that takes time. His impact on Argentina isn't just about what he does directly, goals, assists, key passes. It's also about what defenders have to do because of him. When Messi has the ball anywhere near the final third, defenders can't fully commit elsewhere. That creates space. That's how Alvarez and Lautaro get their moments. Without that gravitational pull, Argentina's attack has to work harder for the same opportunities. And when he's leading the group, making decisions, setting the tone before matches, the effect on the squad is real too. It's not one thing, it's everything at once. Which is exactly why load management over a long tournament matters so much. Scaloni deserves more credit than he gets. After the Saudi Arabia loss in 2022, the obvious move was to panic, change the shape, change the lineup, send a message. He didn't. He kept the same basic structure, made selective adjustments, trusted the players who'd got him there. Against the Netherlands in the quarterfinal, he shifted to a back three, not as a default, but because the matchup demanded it. It helped Argentina control the wide areas and limit the space Dumfries had been exploiting down the right. In the final against France, he made a different kind of adjustment, starting Di Maria on the left, and it completely changed Argentina's attacking balance. Di Maria created width, drew defenders, and opened the exact spaces Alvarez needed to work in. That goal in the first half came directly from that structure. He reads the tournament, adapts to it, and doesn't fall in love with one system. That's a harder skill than it looks. The competition, quick version. France have the firepower to beat anyone on a given night. They nearly came back from 3 goals down in the last final. They have Mbappé, they have depth, and they have reasons to be motivated. They're probably the side I'd least want Argentina to face in a knockout round. England have reached a World Cup semi-final and 2 European Championship finals since 2018. They know how tournament pressure feels now. The gap between knowing how it feels and winning is still there, but it's smaller than it used to be. Brazil are always present. Whether they have the collective identity to go all the way, that question has been following them for a decade. Argentina are a genuine contender. McAllister, Alvarez, Lautaro, Emiliano Martínez. These are players who can win matches without everything going through Messi. The squad is deeper than it was in 2014 or 2018, but I wouldn't call them clear favorites. The expanded format creates more variance. One bad group stage performance, one yellow card that costs you a key player, and the bracket can turn against you quickly. And yes, this is almost certainly Messi's last one. That creates a different atmosphere around every match. The cameras, the build-up, the what-ifs. It can sharpen focus, or it can become a burden. I genuinely don't know which it'll be. I'm not sure even he knows yet. What I do know is that if this team gets to the final stages and Messi has one of those nights where everything he touches goes exactly where he means it, it'll be the kind of thing people are still talking about years from now. And if it ends earlier than that, it ends. That'll be hard for a lot of people. Football doesn't run on sentiment. Argentina found that out in 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, but it also doesn't ignore talent. They found that out in 2022. Whether 2026 belongs to this team or not, I have no idea, but I'll be watching every single minute. Before I go, I want to know what you think. Can Argentina actually defend the World Cup, or is this one tournament too far for this squad? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoy this kind of football analysis, subscribe. There's a lot more coming on this channel.